This is the 40 Days for Life podcast with your host, Sean Carney.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the 40 Days for Life podcast. I'm Sean Carney, the president of 40 Days for Life, and your host for this podcast, which is dedicated to helping you end abortion where you live. Are abortion numbers since the fall of Roe v. Wade going up or down? There's a lot of tension on both sides. There's a lot of opinions. And of course, on this podcast, we will separate fact from fiction because a lot of Planned Parenthoods are closing, and there's some saying, doesn't matter, every woman's having 10 abortion pills every single day. And so we will get to the bottom of whether that's true. And someone who does take more than 10 pills of a lot of different things every single day is my co-host, Mr. Steve Carlin.
Yes, I need to take those pills for my case of moderate to severe podcast hosts who I work with.
Heather is also here. Just a minute ago, and then we thought we've got to discuss this because I think the listeners are interested, is the naming of airports, because Trump has been going around naming buildings after himself like it's a bodily function. And I think... It makes you uncomfortable to see Trump and bodily function. But don't ever say that again. It'd be very uncomfortable. I don't like talking about bodily anything. So presidents, you can name, we have airport, we have Bush Airport, we have JFK. And then there's celebrity airports, or just sort of other people. Amelia Earhart appropriately has an airport named after her. John Wayne, the great Catholic, has an airport named after him in Orange, actually one of the greatest airports. Little sports trivia for Steve Carlin. I was next to Champ Bailey in the John Wayne Airport because we were delayed. So it was just me and Champ waiting on our bags.
How was that?
I didn't say anything. I wasn't going to be like, hey, Champ, so remember when you were an all-pro NFL cornerback?
Because two-thirds of the world is covered by water and the other third is covered by Champ Bailey.
I know it. He was amazing. And his wife came out and their kids and all that. I was going to get in a taxi or whatever, but he had his family picking him up. It was totally normal.
I realize I've lost the plot here, as Robert would say, but didn't they trade him and a second-round pick for Clinton Portis?
Yeah.
Bad move.
Really bad. No, Champ Bailey was a stud. He was on the Super Bowl Denver Elway teams, right? He was there in time for that?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I've blocked those out of the memory.
I forget where he went to college. But anyways, shout out to Champ Bailey and the John Wayne Airport. So if we can name an airport after John Wayne, who is a celebrity that you think it would be appropriate to name an airport after?
Oh, celebrity that I think. Heather, what do you think? You look like you're ready.
No, I wasn't expecting.
This isn't controversial. This is easy.
Oh.
An airport, jet fuel, engines, oil.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise Airport.
I was worried you were going Jerry Jones for a minute.
No. Tom Cruise I would name an airport after Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
Most people wouldn't go for that. Yeah, Tom Cruise Airport. How cool would that be?
Absolutely.
And then
no seatbelts. You just hang on the wing and it takes off.
the training at the...
You have to work out. There's no restaurants. You can have
There's no
tofu
restaurants.
and salmon and kale.
Ew.
But you have to work out, and all that. He's probably juicing. But
the training of all the employees would be show me the money if you have to buy a plane ticket.
No, it's endless. And they just show us movies in the different parts of the airport. Okay. So
yeah, this probably should have happened already.
Yeah.
Only aviator sunglasses allowed.
Yeah. So no, there's a lot of celebrities you could just name an airport after. So, but we could have a little.
Here it comes.
Steve don't like Matthew. Makes him nervous. Why are you so nervous, Steve? Springtime. Go sit by the pool, have a margarita, see what happens.
Matthew McConaughey Airport that no one would be able to spell.
Everybody's relaxed. They're sitting down. They're coming together. Coming together, Steve.
Troubled.
Oh, okay. No Matthew McConaughey.
How long can Sean make Steve be?
Oh, yeah.
It just sounds a little bit like it's a great impression. Nobody will deny that.
No one will deny.
Given some Predator vibes, though.
That's what he does, Steve. He preys on people's emotions. That's what you don't get. You're part of the problem, Steve. Always have been. Okay, Heather's out. Okay. All right. This is actually a real topic that we need to focus on. Okay, we get emails about this. We have personal views. We have professional views. We will get into where we are at, because the myth is that we're worse off since the overturning of Roe on a number of fronts. Forget the abortion numbers. We're just worse off. Why? Because 7 states have enshrined abortion in their constitution, and they didn't have that before Roe. That's true. However, 26 states have banned or highly regulated abortion and, by the way, abortion pills in some cases, and we definitely could have never done that with Roe. So overall, I'm in the camp that sounds ridiculous, but I think of all the great pro-life warriors who never lived to see the day Roe was overturned. But I am in the camp that the overturning of Roe versus Wade was a good thing, and the pro-life movement is better off because of it. I think I also am with Planned Parenthood in that opinion. I think that they are worse off, and I don't,
But how do you feel about the defunding of Planned Parenthood? Good or bad?
Yeah, it's tough. We could give them money or take money away that they wouldn't have. I don't know.
What about all the Planned Parenthood facilities that are closing? Is that good news or bad news?
It's hard to say. It's really hard to, I don't know for 400, Alex.
It's terrible because where are all these poor women going to go to for health care? There are so many more women without health care right now.
So the cynical argument against that, so we're obviously glad about the closures, glad about the defunding. This just is like boom, 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 like great victories. And it's why demand for 40 Days for Life is at an all-time high, because there are places, Ohio, Michigan, California, you're just not, it's over. And I get that. Those were real losses. We don't have our head in the sand. And they were awful. But, if it's not a cliche to say that this is about hearts and minds, we've still seen abortion facilities close in those states. Mm-hmm. The Planned Parenthoods aren't just all closing in Mississippi and Texas and Florida. They're closing in New York. They're closing in California. They're closing in Michigan. We saw Warren, Ohio close, after they celebrated their big, pro-abortion victory. It's market-driven. And that's why demand for 40 Days for Life, that's why the traffic at the pregnancy resource centers is so high. Mm-hmm. Those are good things because the pro-life movement is built for a post-Roe America. Certainly 40 Days for Life has proven to be built for post-Roe America. So the argument, as I mentioned, is that doesn't matter. We're mailing abortion pills all over the place. They're popping them like M&Ms, peanut M&Ms even. It's just like a billion a day. And there's this misconception that abortion pills were so deregulated that everybody is taking a million of them every single day. And I have 2 issues with that. Number one, we're going to cover the facts of stockpiling abortion pills and who's taking them and the actual numbers. The other one is human nature, which I don't think we ever forget at 40 Days for Life because we preach prayer and fasting. So we believe in the divine. Women don't want to take pills to kill their baby. And I will stand by that. They don't grow up wanting an abortion. There's certain circumstances. The clinic is close. It's just different. But women don't want to sit in their apartment and take pills. Many do, okay? And they're going to continue to. But just this, I don't buy the narrative from the left that what makes a woman is her access to abortion, and she will crawl and climb and fly and drive and cycle to get abortion pills. She's just so excited about it and desperate. That's just not the case. Distance is a deterrent, and we just see this in the stats alone of women who are instantly taking the pills and then calling us. And that would have been 5 years, back in the day, but now they're doing it instantly. I think that there is a something in our nature that is good, by the way, that makes us not want to have an abortion. And I think sometimes we've forgotten that because of the access to it through the pills.
Yeah, sometimes there's an inability to accept good news, too. I think pro-lifers for so many decades were just kicked in the teeth over and over again. You get the Supreme Court justice who's going to help us overturn Roe v. Wade, and then they're bad. And then another Supreme Court justice and Congress failing to defund Planned Parenthood back in 2017. We just became like the kicked dog that was going to lash out at everything. And sometimes that's resulted in an inability of us to believe when good things happen.
Because they're too good to be true.
Too good to be true. And don't get me wrong, this is not the half-hour television show where everything is resolved in 22 minutes when you cut out commercial breaks. We have actual challenges, and they're real. But that does not mean that there are not real victories. And every time a Planned Parenthood closes, every time a state enacts pro-life laws, it is a step on the journey toward winning this once and for all.
And winning creates new problems in business and sports and in culture wars. And
uneasy lies the head that wears the crown.
There you go.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to say. It just wasn't coming out properly. But that's a real problem. And we've used the analogy because we're morons. And that is your team makes the playoffs. And it's like, awesome, we're in the playoffs. And like, oh, you got to travel and it's going to be cold weather. And yeah, but we're in a better position to win because we're in the playoffs. And that, I think that there was too much of a negative reaction. Frankly, it shocked me, but it's just continued. And now this notion that abortions are way up everywhere, and so we're losing, is just, I don't believe it to be true. So let's get into it. First off, and this is true, the numbers are all over the place.
Yes.
I think there's this idea that every time an abortion is performed, it's registered like the census or something like that. And so we can, you'll and the numbers say this, like nobody says we have 1,100,000, or no one says we have like 1 million abortions a year, right? When you see the numbers, it's 1,100,000, 152, whatever, that sort of thing, which really suggests that we have specific info. But these are all essentially estimates because the CDC reports abortion data from the states, but not all the states report. Minnesota quit reporting after Roe v. Wade was overturned. California, the biggest abortion state there is, does not track abortion data. And so there is no systematic way to get a comprehensive count of how many abortions are actually taking place. So we are dealing with different sets of estimates. And at that point, it becomes a debate on, do you trust the methodology of this study or that study or any study?
Yeah. And the problem is, you can believe, well, California is not reporting any abortions. There aren't any. Praise God. They're abortion free.
Right.
Or you can say, well, that's because they're doing 5 million in a week, and that's the problem. So overall, let's look at this we count.
Yes.
You believe this to be credible?
I would not say that. The Society of Family Planning has this We Count project, and they are showing a 1.1% increase in the number of abortions performed in the first half of 2025 compared with 2024. And so our friend Dr. Michael New, who we've referred to as the brain of the pro-life movement, he leads the 40 Days for Life campaign in Washington, D.C. I trust him more than anybody when it comes to abortion stats.
Me too.
He wrote an article about it and is troubled by it, and he points in particular to policy changes in states like Nevada. Is that one of those Wisconsin? Nevada.
Oh, Nevada.
And Delaware.
You go to Nevada, you get tired, you put on your pajamas.
Yes. But they began covering elective abortions in their state Medicaid programs in 2025, and so we saw perhaps an increase there. But this is one method, one program. Society of Family Planning's We Count data shows a 1.1% increase in the number of abortions the first half of 2025 versus 2024.
To me, that doesn't tell us a whole lot because the logic, is 2022. So Roe's overturned in 2022. So you have these trigger laws. So boom, all these states start outlawing abortion, regulating abortion. Then we see the fallout 23, 24, certainly 25 with Planned Parenthood's closing. So my point is that if in 2025, you can't sell chicken sandwiches anymore in 26 states. It's illegal. And in 2022, there were like 1 million Chick-fil-A restaurants. Well, in 2025, there's going to be way fewer because it's been outlawed. No, Sean, you idiot. They're going to go to Seattle to that Chick-fil-A. They're going to travel for the chicken. And we know that travel is a deterrent for abortion. We knew that during the Obama years when these states passed all these pro-life laws, ironically more than any other time was under Obama. And distance is a deterrent. So the travel numbers, the overall numbers are what tell the story from all of 2024 or all of 2025 is going to be the key year because that's where we saw the closures. And the argument against that, so in other words, chicken sandwich sales, in my view, would have gone down. Mm-hmm. And somebody's screaming at me saying, no, they've gone up. They just order them through the mail now. I don't think that many people want a chicken sandwich through the mail, and I don't think that many people want an abortion through the mail. I do think that they have built their stuff on healthcare and seeing a doctor and all that, and that's kind of, the mentality of this generation. Maybe that'll fade over time when abortion pills become more the norm. But those are the numbers I'm interested in, is how the actual impact when you start closing Planned Parenthoods, like this one, okay, that used to do 400 to 800 abortions a year, and they do 0 now. Even the traffic we see at these state clinics, like on the border states, they're just not seeing that increase. They're seeing an increase.
Yes.
People are traveling.
Right.
But they're not replacing those abortion numbers. So the overall number has to be going down. And I don't believe that it's being completely replaced and skyrocketed. And I'm just saying this based on the numbers. And I know we're going to get to that, not because this is what Sean believes, but they're not making that up. I think people underestimate how many abortions were done in America when we actually were tracking it.
Yeah, this is an important point because in Wisconsin, where I live, we've had 2 stretches where we were largely abortion-free. After Roe v. Wade was overturned, we had about a year where there were no abortions in Wisconsin. And I mean, some guy will say, like, well, we don't know. But there were no legal abortions. Planned Parenthood quit doing abortions. It was a great time. And then after the defunding of Planned Parenthood, we had a stretch where Planned Parenthood quit doing abortions to get the federal money. And so in both of those cases, I'd have people say, well, we have Planned Parenthood facilities just across the state border in Illinois, and there were like 20 Wisconsin license plates in that parking lot.
Right.
Okay, this is bad and it's disturbing, and we should be concerned about it. But if there were, let's say, 50 Wisconsin women getting abortions on a Wednesday morning, and there's 20 Wisconsin women getting them in Illinois, we're still talking about a 60% decrease in abortions. We don't want to tolerate any abortion. I'm ready for a guy who says, yeah, but even one is too many. Agreed. Totally agreed. But we should at least be able to celebrate if there's a significant decrease because, yes, maybe the parking lot is full, but we can't count all the cars who didn't come.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, that's just true. And the other thing about the abortion pill argument of everybody just saying, well, they're just doing that. That's not the case. Most women don't find out they're even pregnant until 11 or 12 weeks in these cases, and it's too late for the abortion pill. Well, they could be doing it illegally. Of course they could. That's not what we're talking about. But the cutting out surgical abortions alone is significant, which happens when you close an abortion facility, right?
Yes.
There's nowhere to do them. So that, to me, those numbers, when we get those at 2025, all those numbers come in, that's going to be really significant of where we are or where we're not, because the abortion pill numbers are complete BS. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but
there's still a significant amount of women who, even today in 2026, would prefer to have a surgical procedure over the pill abortion, even though America, yes, we're all about convenience and we just take a pill for everything to fix everything. It's still the fact that in their minds, this is a more legitimate abortion, I think in a significant amount of women's minds. But also that saying that we always had in our training, you walk in pregnant, you walk out not pregnant.
Yeah.
Like it's done, it's over with, you can leave. And also this is the safest surgery in the country, even though it's not. It's the most common for sure. But I think with that being said, there's still, even with this huge push for at-home abortions, there's a lot of women that are hearing horror stories about those types of abortions. And so they would, and also because this has been pushed as healthcare, we should go see a doctor about this.
I know. They kind of trapped themselves in that. And honestly, we've been saying this, and I think this will only continue. Abortion pills have a bad word of mouth, but among the women who have one. And that matters. because you can say, there's a lot of women that are like, I went in, I felt a little pain, I had an abortion, it was fine, the lady was nice, whatever. And they go. And you're in the waiting room, all of that. But the concern that I've heard, too, of women, questioning the abortion pills is it going to work? Like,
Yeah.
It's just like me in my apartment taking the, I actually don't want to be pregnant.
And if they happen to have read the paperwork that they signed saying you could still need a surgical procedure after this abortion pill if it doesn't work.
It freaks you out. And I know a lot of people don't read that stuff, but they have to take them through certain warnings. And this is why it doesn't have a good word of mouth. Going back to the travel, though, so the Guttmacher Institute reported that the number of clinician-provided abortions in the first half of 2025 decreased by 5%. And of course, we're interested in comparing that to like previous years. It decreased by 5% in the first half of 2025 compared with 2024. Out-of-state abortion travel dropped 8%. Out-of-state abortion travel should never drop post-Roe.
Right.
It should just keep going up.
Right.
That was the narrative.
Well, there's a lot going on here. First of all, just to compare Guttmacher to WeCount, this is the same period of time. WeCount says we're up 1.1%. Guttmacher says we're down 5%.
Right.
So just on its face, when we say the numbers are all over the place, this is what we're talking about.
And these are two pro-abortion research engines.
Yes. The percentage of telehealth abortions we've been saying for a while was 20%. That appears to have jumped to 27%. So not great, but also we're talking 7%, not 10,000 abortions per woman per day as the narrative sort of suggests here. But I think everything you just said, Sean, a little bit ago about travel and surgical abortions cannot be put through the mail. Imagine you're in Florida and you want an abortion. You're in Orlando. Well, they've got a heartbeat bill. So can you go to Georgia? No, also a heartbeat bill. South Carolina? No, also a heartbeat bill. Tennessee? No, pro-life laws. You have to go all the way to North Carolina. You can't even go west. You can't go to Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas. We've got a whole region of the country now, which is essentially pro-life. And granted, if you live in Indiana, yeah, you can just cross the border and go to Chicago if you want. But whether abortion numbers are going up or down, it would seem to matter. In particular, mentioning a state as big as Florida. What is it, like the fourth most populous state in the country or something?
In
to that effect?
Texas.
Yeah.
In Tennessee. Like, these are heavy populated states.
Yeah.
Even South Carolina.
Texas. Well, okay, we'll go to New Mexico. But the population of Texas, if those of the listeners who do not follow geography. The population in Texas is not close to New Mexico.
Right.
It's the 10th largest economy in the world is Texas. And it doesn't have abortion.
Well, they can just go to Oklahoma. Oh, no, they can't do that either.
No,
Arkansas?
Louisiana.
No. Right.
No. And that's why travel is really a deterrent. And maybe if you lived, let's say you lived in my hometown of Tyler and Louisiana had abortion, you're like, all right, it's an hour and a half to Shreveport. Let's do it. But once Louisiana doesn't have it, and Arkansas doesn't have it, and Oklahoma doesn't have it, and Alabama doesn't have it, you start to think like how you rethink it. And that's what you can't do. We've worked with tens of thousands of women who have chosen life. You can't start questioning having the abortion. That is the road to choosing life, right? Distance matters. And now you're searching flights, which airport, which abortion clinic near the airport. You're getting into the weeds.
Or which has the next available appointment.
Exactly. And
I want to get on the plane when I'm hemorrhaging.
Yeah, good point.
The whole time you're doing this, the more likely you are to tell somebody that you're pregnant. And then the more people you tell, the more opinions you get and all of this. And this is how people choose life. And that's why they couldn't figure out, why is distance such a deterrent? And the stupid Supreme Court kept overturning all those pro-life laws back in the day because they said it was an undue burden on women's constitutional right to abortion because distance is a real deterrent. And they were talking about 3 hours in a car.
Yeah, that's a good point. That was always my big frustration with Texas when we didn't have the Dobbs decision yet and we didn't have the enacted laws that we do now. was, I don't understand why these places are still open. We have paperwork from the state that shows that they have failed every single health inspection. Everyone in the state has routinely failed health inspections. I don't understand how they're able to, and that was always and I could never get an answer. And then it was like, finally someone said, well, the governor's office is really, disturbed by the thing that you pointed out on that meeting the other day. But the thing is that we still have Roe versus Wade. And so the distance trumps women's health.
Yep.
With true women's health. Like the distance to travel to an abortion facility, if this one closes, is more than whatever it was, 90 miles or something. And therefore, we can't close this facility that has dirty instruments going from one woman's body to the other and has tears in the exam tables that how many women, 20 women sit on a day. But we can't close that because that's better for her than having to drive far.
And you're completely right. And the undue burden, the reason that travel abortions didn't skyrocket is because nobody wants to say what the reality is, which is this is an elective surgery. Mm-hmm. It's not healthcare. It's not going to kill you. You get pancreatic cancer and you want to extend your life for 3 months, you're going to MD Anderson.
Yes.
You're going to Mayo. You're like,
Yes.
I don't care where I live. I don't care if I'm in a cabin in Idaho. I'm getting on a plane and I'm doing it. Real healthcare, you travel. You go to the best place in the world if it's that desperate of a situation. Pregnancy's not like that. People are pregnant all the time.
And all these idiot, CEOs and companies saying, oh, well, we're going to make it easier for you by giving you X amount of days to go get your abortion. We're going to pay for it for you so you can get back to work as soon as you can.
And that sure disappeared quickly, didn't it?
I was going to say, I haven't heard that.
They were so full of crap. Everybody wants to go into the HR director and say, hey, Bill. Yes, Sally. Hey, I gotta get my abortion. Can I get the hotel vouchers and the flights and the food vouchers? I gotta go down. I'm going this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Have a good time. I mean, nobody wants to tell anybody that.
Yeah.
And everything is so documented right now that has there been one TikTok video of the woman who's like, and here I am going to New Mexico? Maybe there are. I haven't seen them, though. They haven't made headlines.
Yes, Steve,
No,
there
but
has been.
what would happen is
There has?
what would happen is what happens with all these type of perks, which is Sally goes into Bill because she's in evil Alabama and she's like, I got to go to California to have an abortion. I don't like, he said, oh my gosh, yes. Well, we represent reproductive rights. Here's your $2,500 travel voucher and blah, 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 and good luck. And she's going to San Diego for the weekend. I mean, the employee abuse would definitely have that. That's another reason I said this is never going to happen. It's going to be an HR nightmare. And then when Sally comes in and says, hey, you paid for Sarah's abortion. I have cancer. I need to go to MD Anderson. They're like, we're not paying for the travel for that. We only pay for abortions around here. Total HR, complete nightmare, which is why it was all just window dressing.
These are all good reasons why we think that it's a myth that abortion numbers are going through the roof in post-Roe America. But again, looking at the actual data, I think should tell us a lot. But again, there's no rigorous method for tracking the number of abortions. So there's a lot of speculation here. As we talked about, federal counting is incomplete. So where does the Society of Family Planning We Count project and where do Guttmacher get their data? The Society of Family Planning numbers are based on surveys of abortion providers. We're sure would never lie.
No.
And Guttmacher looked at samples of abortion providers. So they're essentially self-reported data. And is everybody responding? Like, I got the Nielsen survey asking me to respond to my how often I listen to the radio and what stations I'm listening to it for. And so, like, they're giving everybody in our family $10 or whatever. And Laura was like, yeah, I was going to listen to the radio, but I didn't want to fill out the stupid thing. So I just prayed instead.
That's hysterical.
But that might be a pro-abortion group or person would argue you're proving our point rather than your point, which is the numbers are actually probably so much higher because you're not getting all the abortion providers to self-report. And therefore, that means there's got to be that much more, which makes, again, like you said, this is speculation. But at the same time, this just makes me wonder because they're so prone to lying. They're so prone to, if it doesn't make their cause look good, they typically don't put it out. And these things are saying, this is saying it's decreased by 5% from the Guttmacher Institute, the abortions compared to 2024 from 2025. So how do we determine those numbers? But it must be to me, it tells me something must not be that great. Otherwise, they would really be putting through the roof all the numbers that are so much more increasing.
Yeah, and I would say here, my position, at least on this podcast, is not that we're making a comprehensive case that the number of abortions is way down and we can prove it.
Sure.
I think and it may be the case, and I hope it's the case, and perhaps there's reason to believe it's the case. 5% drop. If Guttmacher's right, that is significant victory for us.
Yes.
From last year to this year.
Yeah. I think what I'm trying to show on this is that regardless of whether we know how much they're going down, whether they're going down, there's no reason for the sky is falling. Abortion pills are everywhere. Everybody's having abortions.
Sure.
Roe v. Wade being overturned was bad. I don't think there's any data that really supports that.
Yeah.
And we've got reason to suggest that the number of abortions being reported is overstated. Namely, something Sean mentioned earlier, that an abortion pill, like if you purchase a surgical abortion, that is an abortion that happened.
Yes.
If you purchase an abortion pill, maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't.
Right.
Maybe it was a pill that was stockpiled by a county or by an individual, the rainy day abortion pills. We just don't know how many of them are actually being used. And so as you see the proliferation of abortion pills, by the way, the number of abortions in the statistics that are being tracked didn't just suddenly go up when Roe was overturned. It goes back to 2017 when they made this push for abortion pills. So it's not apples to apples, it's apples to oranges. We just don't know how many of these pills are actually being taken.
That is the point of this podcast, by the way. We're not saying there's only 7 abortions in America now every year. That's not the case. But this sky is falling. There's 1 million abortions every single year just on abortion pills is just not true. And I don't believe that when you regulate something and you close a third of the locations that offer something, that somehow that product goes up.
Yeah.
No one would believe that. It's like when we were talking about Planned Parenthood last year. Any secular CEO who could care less about abortion would look at Planned Parenthood and be like, they look like they're on their way to bankruptcy. If you were to analyze them like a publicly traded company. But I don't think that they are. I hope that they are. But this is the problem, is that we're told by a lot of people, none of this matters because they're all taking abortion pills. Mm-hmm. And that's just not true. And I don't know where it comes from. I don't really care. But there is this, we are worse off from our own movement. And that is so odd and bizarre. And it's not accurate.
Yeah.
It's just not, we just know that that's not accurate. We know that it could be drizzling, but we also, we can say for a fact we're not in a Category 5 hurricane. If we're told that we're in a hurricane, we look outside and we're like, no, we're not.
I have seen some estimates that suggest that when the abortion pill is taken, 2 to 7% of the time, it doesn't work. And so we're in a scenario there where we're talking tens of thousands of abortions that are reported because the pill was taken, where maybe the baby survived the use of the abortion pill.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Then they had the surgical abortion. And so now you're saying the same baby was aborted twice. So that could inflate the numbers. The babies that are saved through abortion pill reversal are still counted as abortions because that abortion pill was sold. And something I think is very interesting is after the Dobbs decision, the Guttmacher Institute changed the way they track their data.
Yeah.
They used to try to track every single abortion at every single provider. And that's why oftentimes it took us a few years before we would see numbers on anything. You're looking for the most recent numbers, like this is 5 years old. What does it tell us about now?
Yeah.
They wanted more up-to-date data. Plus, there were so many abortion facilities closing, so many abortionists retiring because abortionists are an aging population. And so instead of just trying to get everybody, they started surveying a sample of providers and then extrapolating the data across the industry. Well, this may be a relatively reasonable thing to do, but if you suddenly do that at Roe v. Wade being overturned, when there is a massive disruption to the market, again, you're not comparing apples to oranges. This is a quotation from a pro-lifer, Dr. Randall O'Bannon. He said, with the market undergoing such major churning, determining which providers were representative and using the caseloads at major abortion megaclinics set up to handle heavy traffic volume to estimate for the rest of abortionists was statistically problematic at best.
I want to point out two quick things. Number one, the overturning of Roe marked the first time the abortion industry wanted to report higher numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. Safe, legal, and rare. all of that. That was their marketing, not just safe, legal, and rare. We know that's been dead a while, but like some women need it. But what they wanted is, hey, your stupid pro-life laws, Trump, Kavanaugh, pro-life movement, don't work. Now there's 1 billion abortions. They were rooting for the number to go up and almost bragging that it was going up, which is an odd thing. Okay, and then they've never done that before. Number two, this is significant with the stockpiling. And what did they rip off? I'll bring up Steve's favorite topic ever. The COVID pandemic.
Oh.
It was smart. They ripped that off.
Yeah.
Of just, there are, 200 million people have taken the vaccines. No, there's 200 million vaccines out there.
Yes.
It's not that 200 million people have taken them. And that's what they did with the abortion pills. Is like, there's 5 million abortions.
I might have 2 or 3 COVID tests still in my drawer or linen closet somewhere.
Right.
Like,
The
counting all the COVID tests that were
Burn them with
sold?
fire.
the skewing of numbers. Okay, that is totally out of COVID, obviously, but it's smart. It's smart because what they did is they ordered all these abortion pills, in a panic and in a kind of a PR thing, and the numbers they were able to say there are 100 million abortion pills, that have been distributed.
Yeah.
And everybody just assumes to a woman in her apartment, she took it. Oh my gosh, we were really, really wrong. Like this is awful. Everybody needs an abortion.
Yeah.
And that's why the problem is that I wish more people in our movement would fight against that because it's total BS. And everything that we know says, like we're talking about, first off, 80% of the abortion pills are still distributed through brick and mortar. So Planned Parenthood has a lot of incentive in these states that didn't outlaw abortion pills. Tons of incentive to stay open. They haven't. They've closed. So, anyways, the stockpiling is, and of course, Guttmacher started counting all of that, and it just makes it look overwhelming. And that's why you can't trust these numbers. And that's why there are abortion pill numbers I can believe. I know that they've gone up. I know that they hit, I think their max was 78% of all abortions. 2025 was the first time they went, or 24, I think, was the first year they went down to 68% of all abortions. That's a good sign. That should not happen post-Roe. That should not happen. That number should just keep going up to where, I don't know, you have like 9% of all abortions are surgical and 91% of them are abortion pills because these are so accessible. And that's not happening. We saw a 13% drop in 1 year. In a post-Roe era. So those are good signs if you're looking for, hey, we don't know the numbers because the numbers we're being fed are not accurate. But when you look at some of the numbers that we know are accurate, it's encouraging.
This is also taking place in a broader cultural context of widespread and fairly undisputed fraud in all areas of our society right now, too, right? Like,
what do you mean?
Like, tell us more.
I really wanted to dig in and see.
I brought up 2 topics over Christmas break with family to flame the fire.
Oh, yeah, that's a great thing to do.
I said that I was pro Big Pharma. That was a big one. You saw that one. But that wasn't as worse as being pro Jerry Jones.
Oh,
people
yeah.
lost their minds at Christmas. Okay, keep going.
I wanted to dig in and see, we're talking about the numbers being all over the place. Why is WeCount saying we're up 1.1%? Why is Guttmacher saying we're down 5%? We talked about how they're kind of extrapolating data and how unreliable it is. And I just wanted to dig into that a little bit more and find out what is going on. Because essentially they're both surveying abortion providers. How could they come to such different conclusions? And so I thought it was interesting. The Guttmacher website allows you to compare the Guttmacher numbers with the WeCount numbers. And so I took a look, again, this time period that we've been examining, the first half of 2025. And Guttmacher will say, here is our estimated number of abortions this month or this year, and here is the range that we think it could fall in. This is the one we think it is. It's probably somewhere in this range. We're 90% sure that it fits in this range, low end to high end. So, for example, in June 2025, Guttmacher was 90% sure that the number of abortions was somewhere between 81,520 and 84,360. The Society of Family Planning number is nearly 2,000 more than the high end of the Guttmacher range. And it went from hundreds to thousands higher. We count was hundreds to thousands higher than Guttmacher every single month of the first half of 2025, which is the data that's available. So I just find that to be unplausible.
Yeah, it's unplausible, and it's not believable. And if you just look at Texas, okay, the most accurate person that I think, our buddy, has confirmed to me many times, like through a text, we had 365 abortions a day in Texas. What happened to you? What's going on? Steve just spilled like Coke all over himself. Okay, look, 40 Days for Life
It's not the first time.
40 Days for Life is a family. We're trying to bring y'all into what's
trying to cover it up with my paper.
I'm talking about abortion numbers, and all of a sudden there's like,
good.
What is that? Is that Coke Zero?
Dr. Pepper.
Oh,
Zero or the real
sin.
Dr. Pepper Zero. How do they do that?
It's the scientists who created in a lab love us very much.
And you can get it in Wisconsin?
Yes.
That's brilliant. As I was saying, mercy. You need a napkin or anything?
I need a
bib?
lot of things.
Okay.
Let's just get through this.
He needs a bib.
This is an important point. So Texas in our heyday, unfortunate heyday of abortion, was 365 abortions a day. The last number I got, one said 4 in the entire year, 7 in the entire year, and those are these esoteric cases where they use the loophole and get in and are able to have the abortion. There's a lot more that aren't reported. I don't know. Apparently that guy knows there's illegal abortions. However, lady in Houston doing illegal abortions got arrested.
Yes.
Guy in Fort Worth slipped his girlfriend RU46. They're charging him with capital murder. Okay, we're here today. So that, if you enforce the laws, it's a deterrent. And I just don't. Are those 365 a day? Our birth rate's going up, by the way.
Yes.
As it is in Florida.
Yes.
If 365 a day to 4 a year, that many women are traveling? That many women are ordering illegal abortion pills, can't send them in or out of the state. We're one of the largest states. It doesn't add up.
Well, and on top of that, how many women are willing let's just say in Texas, knowing that abortion is illegal?
Right.
Most people know that it's illegal.
Right.
It's out there. They don't know, even if we had a heartbeat law.
Right.
And we didn't have the Human Life Protection Act and all the other laws that we've had passed since then. They just know abortion's illegal in their minds. And so how many women want to break the law?
I think that the initial big drop was actually when we did have the heartbeat law. That was the first.
It was.
When Roe was overturned, that clinched the deal. But that was a significant, because you don't know you're pregnant. That was the genius of the heartbeat bill.
Right. And we've heard Abby say several times before that she is confident that had abortion been illegal, when she had her abortions, she wouldn't have done it. When she had her unplanned pregnancies.
70% of them say that. I mean, they all say it.
So it just makes me think, I don't believe that all of a sudden all these women,
are criminals.
40,000 that we used to have a year in Texas, I don't believe 40,000 women want to break the law. I think that is a deterrent. And I think saying, of course, the abortion industry is saying it's only going to make people it's only going to make abortions go up if you make it illegal. Like, apply that to anything else. Like, we shouldn't really, abolish drinking and driving. That shouldn't be against the law anymore, because people are going to do it anyway. And so we should just not.
That's what Obama should have done. He wanted everybody to have health insurance instead of making a law that required you to have health insurance. Just ban health insurance, and then more people would have it.
That's a good point, Steve. Oh my gosh.
We've done this before on the podcast, but we only apply this to the abortion issue.
Yes,
it's 100% of you make it illegal, it's only going to increase.
Yeah. Wow.
We would have no laws.
This is heading into the territory of you laughed at me, and rightly so. We were talking when we were talking about abortion numbers and something we did on the podcast, and wanting to make sure that we were accurate, because we actually don't make stuff up. We look into it and confirm that it's true. And I said to you, well,
we don't make stuff up as it pertains to the issue of abortion.
Right.
There's other topics I've made. Yeah.
And I said, well, this number doesn't include the number of self-administered abortions conducted by herbs. And you're like, I'm sorry, Steve, I'm not really worried that is a big skewer of the data.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. Okay, where are we at? Are we back to O'Bannon? I like this guy.
Yeah.
Great Irish name. He said the abortion...
Good bar, too. Good
Yeah,
pub.
it is a great bar in College Station. I have to say, with children and all that, I haven't been to O'Bannon's in a long time. Last time I took somebody to O'Bannon's was Steve.
That was one of the top 100 experiences of my life.
100.
It was
Wow.
and a great occasion. It was the closure of Planned Parenthood here, where we are today. So we had a big rally, and so Steve stayed the weekend. We went to the A&M game.
Yeah.
Saw Johnny Football. We went to O'Bannon's Irish Pub.
Because Johnny Football was only suspended for the first half of the game, which seemed absurd to me.
It was like exactly. Well, it was like a quarter. I mean, so he yeah. Whatever. He
You
did
go
some
sit in the
drugs.
corner until
Yeah.
the 2-minute warning.
So we go to O'Bannon's, and there's this live Irish band. They were fantastic. It was so fun. Anyways, that's why we like Dr. Randall O'Bannon. Maybe he's the owner. He said abortion numbers have dropped and birth rates are up in states with pro-life laws. So when you say that, isn't this like saying Bill started eating healthy and exercising and his cholesterol went down? I mean, isn't this just common sense of what's going to happen when you have pro-life laws?
So you just said there are some things that only apply to pro-life and abortion, and we wouldn't accept the logic anywhere else. I think there's one exception here. This is the guy that says there's no evidence that steroids helped Barry Bonds hit 73 pounds.
That's right. That's right. That's
Still need the hand-eye coordination.
That's a great analogy. It's a great analogy. The other thing is the wave of Planned Parenthood's closing in 2025 are not yet fully reflected in the data for the first half of 2025.
True.
And certainly not in the second half, because a lot of them closed over the summer. Fewer Planned Parenthood facilities, this just in, means the abortion industry has a smaller footprint in your community. That is fewer Planned Parenthood representatives teaching sex ed to your kids, fewer Planned Parenthood lobbyists and lawyers in your state capital, and fewer Planned Parenthood fundraisers. And I still believe most fundraising is very local. It's very community oriented. It's very focused. And when you just don't have a Planned Parenthood in your state, you may still give, nationally. But overall, you lose a lot of the local connection, and I think we're going to see that in their annual reports. We've certainly seen their donations go down the last 2 years. So the bottom line is to not get discouraged. I think that we're like wanting bad news, and I don't live with my head in that. I can be a very cynical person, one of my tremendous gifts. But you have to look at reality. I don't know how to explain it. I don't like the guy at the party that hates that everybody else is having a good time. And I think that the overturning of Roe and the fallout from that, and I know we've got big challenges. We've got big challenges with these abortion pills. We've got big challenges with new abortion facilities being built, which no one wants to talk about since the whole future is abortion pills. Why are they building new facilities in some of these states?
I was just going to bring up the Boulder one that we celebrated that Hearns facility closed, and that was great, and he retired. But then that staff went and opened the Rise Up, not third trimester abortion facility, all trimester abortion, which makes me think, so those fourth trimester abortions, how about that?
And Planned Parenthood is a giant, and they're doing a lot of dumb stuff recently, and we've criticized them for it. They deserve it. Their CEO is a ding-dong. And I don't go to sleep at night not worrying about them anymore. They're going to fix that. Unfortunately, I don't believe they're like one little touch on the forehead and we're going to KO them and they're going to fall down in the ring. Mm-hmm. They are going to make a comeback. They're too big. They're too wealthy. And frankly, I think with some of their board members, they're too smart. And I think they're getting away from some of this woke stuff, and they're going to be like, we are righting the ship. They're probably they have to fire Alexis McGill Johnson. That needs to be done ASAP if they want to survive. But they're going to make a comeback. And this whole notion that we're worse off, nothing's changed, it's just not accurate. And it's unfair to the average pro-lifer, because I get a lot of people saying, yeah, it's just worse off. I had a priest tell me that. I'm like, what's the matter with you? And I kind of went through some stats. He's like, oh, yeah, I guess the overturning of Roe was good. I'm like, yeah, who'd have thought?
I make this point all the time. You know what happened a decade ago this month?
Hold on. This month that we're recording or this month that this podcast comes out?
Comes out. February of 2016.
Ah, I got you. The death of Scalia.
Scalia. Oh.
Imagine you tell a pro-lifer
Yeah.
the day that
time.
Scalia dies, we've got 8 years of Obama judges. Hillary is cruising toward election.
Cruising.
We're going to get 4 to 8 years of Hillary judges. Cecile Richards is still in charge. Imagine you say, over the next 10 years, Planned Parenthood will fall apart. They'll lose Cecile Richards. They'll hire a replacement who will last a year. They'll replace her with someone who is, in our opinion, a ding-dong. And we'll see Roe overturned and Planned Parenthood defunded. Things are terrible.
Hey,
Worse than ever.
look, I know we win at the end of the book, but that's asking a lot. It's not going to happen. It is. There is no pro-life human that if you said all that's going to happen, like, what would you do? They would just say, I would just throw the biggest party ever.
You're talking range of outcomes. February of 2016, the range of potential outcomes. We've covered how bad things could have gotten. What is the best case scenario? If someone asked Sean Carney or Heather Gardner in February of 2016, the day after Scalia dies, what is the best case scenario for the pro-life movement in 10 years from now? Nobody is saying this.
Right.
Wow.
Not even in the picture.
No, it's not even in the picture. All those things, and they happened. And I don't know. I really don't have an answer. I don't know if it's because I don't think it's like the Trump factor where people are like, I just don't like him and he kind of reigned during this time, so I'm sort of torn, because that's just completely putting politics ahead of your faith. I mean, this is a huge cultural victory. And the other thing you didn't mention in that litany is just the stigma that abortion would get through the media.
Yeah.
I mean, even abortion pills, and heck, they flipped the food pyramid finally. Apparently, turkey is better for you than a loaf of bread. But it's just one of those things where abortion is controversial more.
I mean, the left is running away from abortion.
I
This
know.
was their only thing. Like on their hierarchy of what you pit all the different liberal interests against each other, the environmentalists, the unions, everything. Abortion was always top of the heap, and it's not.
Yeah, it's just been, and that doesn't. I just don't understand. Like, when you're winning, you want to work hard. You put your foot on the gas. You put your foot on their throat. However you want to do it, but there's this notion that because there's victory, we're not acknowledging there's more work to do. Of course there is, but we've always been in a position of losing.
Right.
Just since I was in high school when the partial birth abortion ban came out. I mean, that has just been the case. Letdown after letdown with the Supreme Court, letdown with letdown with so many different things, letdown with the first Trump administration because he couldn't get them to defund Planned Parenthood because your boy, Paul Ryan, was such a loser and useless. But they overcame all that, and I would just say, even if you stopped at the February 2016 and you were like, how many 40 Days for Life campaigns are we going to have in 10 years? We wouldn't have believed that. I wouldn't believe we'd be like over 600, over 700 in the fall. It's just crazy. Mm-hmm. So anyways, there's a lot of good news. There is a lot of work to do. We will continue to sort out the facts and figures, particularly when we get Planned Parenthood's annual report and we get some of these 2025 numbers. We will do a deep dive on the good, bad, and the ugly of whatever those numbers tell us. But please rate, review, and share this podcast. If there's something we missed or you want us to cover, please email us at podcast@40daysforlife.com, podcast@40daysforlife.com. We got a lot of requests for this topic, and we'll be doing more of it, of just the abortion numbers and monitoring that, so that no matter what, we can equip you to lower your abortion numbers no matter where you live. So thank you, Steve. Thank you, Heather. Please rate, review, and share this podcast, and we will see you next time. God bless you.